My name is James Omadai. I'm the Director of Partnerships at the Bloggers Association of Kenya. We started the iFreedoms Kenya project at BAKE after the realization that online content creators were being threatened. Basically, their freedom of expression rights were being infringed upon.
Internet freedom means the ability of internet users, bloggers, journalists, and researchers to use the internet freely without censorship or surveillance.
As a blogger, internet freedom means that I have a freedom to access any content I want from the internet without limitations of what to access and what not to access, and without follow-ups or restrictions from other private entities.
Internet freedoms means ability to access information without restriction, without limitation, without control from external parties, and also ability to use the internet to express myself, both as a professional and as in areas maybe of like my hobbies and as such per se.
I believe that internet freedom is a right of people, that you should be able to access the internet and be able to get the information that you need.
2017, as you well know, is an interesting year for Kenya because we had the election, and also the threats to online content creators have increased, and they've also become a bit more sophisticated. We realized that some of those threats were of a digital nature. And so we went back to the drawing board and realized that we have to give, these content creators, bloggers and influencers, skills so that they can be able to deal with these new threats.
I heard about the training from BAKE. They actually advertised it in the newsletter. They had it on social media. So, and also guys were talking about it. So, yes, I heard about it in different places.
I learned about the training through BAKE. As a member of BAKE, being a part of the blogging community in Kenya.
I trained about how to securely use the internet and how to protect yourself as a journalist, as a blogger. And some of the things involved circumvention during internet shutdowns. It involved backing up your devices and physical security of devices, among others. And my experience was really good. The participants were eager to learn. They asked questions. We had a lot of practicals, and it's something that I would love to do again with bloggers and journalists again.
During this election period, the digital security training was best because it warned us against talking bad from the internet or exposing bad thoughts, and that prevented us from being tracked down by the government or from the people, from moving the masses to having falsified information to acting in an inappropriate way.
During the election period, there was a lot of high alert about a possible internet shutdown or possible controls against certain internet networks. Fortunately, that did not happen. But so I would not, with that in mind, we can't say really there was much use of it in that regard. But as concerns protecting my data, protecting the data of my workplace, protecting creating for myself access to necessary data, that was quite helpful and has continued to be helpful. So it's more than just the electoral period, but it's beyond the election period.
I found the training very useful, and it was very important because we were moving into elections, and some of our members were also in need of this kind of information. So part of it was to share about the information, learn more from it.
There were very many highlights in the digital security training. One of them was about learning to make your internet more secure. This is by using stuff like VPN, which we've heard of before, but like for me, I hadn't actually put VPN on most of my gadgets, so it was important to learn about that. And the great thing about it is that we had a step-by-step process on how to do it, and it didn't seem as hard as I thought it would be. And the other thing, I think another highlight was about making sure that your computer, things about making sure your passwords are protected, making your password, how to make your passwords more secure, so that someone who's trying to hack into your laptop or into your things like Gmail they're not able to do that. So those were two of the highlights, but there was actually a lot. We learned a lot in those couple of hours.
The training was very important because one, it touching on internet shutdown, which is one of the core components of the Internet Society campaign in this year. How do you involve communities into addressing the issues in case of a shutdown?
The highlight of the training of the digital skills, I learned that I can protect my IP address without being tracked, without people with malicious intentions having to come and access my files or steal my files for uses of other evil purposes.
The highlights were, it was quite interesting because we got to understand how to access the internet without government controls, as we can say, without controls that may be brought in by external, let's put it as controls that may be brought in by external parties. We also learned about how to secure our own networks from hackers and external parties who may come to interfere. So it was not just about being away from government, but also external parties who may prove to be a threat. Another interesting thing we learned were quite a number of open source software that exists that may help us protect our information and also protect our equipment as we access the internet.
As a member of Internet Society of Kenya, issues that were coming out of digital security had been issues that had been during the campaign and during the elections were very key issues because members were asking about the emergence of fake news, and some of the members also have been concerned about information that was flowing over the internet, and that was part of the meetings that we had. Before that, is important for us to have some knowledge about this.
Internews supported us to conduct training of bloggers and influencers, and the thing about it was the training was basically meant to train these people to learn how to respond to fast about digital hygiene, which is really, really important. The next is to protect all their platforms, be it their blog, their Twitter, their Facebook, and most importantly, we taught them how to still communicate using the internet once there's a partial, if there's a partial internet shutdown or a complete shutdown, among very many other things that we taught them. That is the training was very important, and all the all the participants were actually very happy to receive it. And the interesting thing is that going forward, because everyone that we taught is a content creator, these people can actually train other people and talk about, either on their platforms, in person, or through other means. They can actually train other people now on all those things that we train them. So this training was really, really essential, and we thank Internews for their support.
Internet freedom security training should be held once a month because I feel there are a lot more people out there who really don't know more about internet security, how to protect themselves, and how to cover their documents. And I feel like if it's done monthly, more people will be exposed and more people will be protected, and we'll have a better world.
I think trainings on digital security are something which should be continuous and ongoing because of the evolving nature of the digital world. It's not standard. Like once you're trained today, doesn't mean tomorrow you're going to have the tools to protect yourself, because every new day there are new digital security threats. So as often as possible, possibly every other week if possible, that's something which should be ongoing, and yeah, I would encourage that to happen.
Regular trainings do assist a lot, especially with with evolving trends that are happening both in whatever space that we tend to occupy as professionals and as people following our hobbies and users also of these various systems. And training maybe on a bi-monthly basis or something around that, on evolving upcoming trends, or even sharing of information online, information that we may not maybe have come across, will help, because this, as we keep moving, systems are changing and systems are evolving, and people are always going to be asking, how do I avoid this, how do I avoid this, and how do I go about this? And so once in a while, creating more awareness with information that we can use and also share with other networks, that would always be beneficial.
I think because it was an introductory training, I think for us, it's important for us to have partnerships, because at times find that this information is very relevant for us, the kind of work we do. And for us, I think members were interested about how can they get this, and this is something we could not do it by ourselves. So I think partnership would be very important. Have a more structured training, which is not a one day, or how do you make it more better? So for me, I think that would be very key, and for our membership, so that our membership can also learn from this.
Going forward, we plan to host this digital security trainings every quarter, and in a different county. That is important because there are very many new content creators who are coming up in counties like Kilifi, in counties like Garissa, and all those fringe counties that you wouldn't think that that people create content, and these people need this digital security training so that they can know how to respond to threats if they ever happen. And then also, like I said before, it is important that publishers and content creators have these skills, because they can actually be able to and they can teach other people who are either coming up in those areas, or maybe just people who are facing the same threats. So it's like really important. Yeah. So yes, definitely we are going to go forward with this, and yeah.
I'm grateful to BIC for conducting the Internet Freedom Security Training. It has been a good exposure to learn about how to protect myself, my data, and information over the internet. And I would advise bloggers to continue coming to these trainings, because it gives them more information how to conduct themselves, how to deliver their work, and how to cover their data.
Digital security is very important, and I want to thank BIC for inviting the Internet Society of Kenya to participate in this, because internet is growing and members need to learn about this. So I think it's important to make our internet very safe, and also to teach people about digital security. Thank you.
I would like to thank BIC for this opportunity that they gave us, and I also advise other people to look for such opportunities and events that can help them professionally and as individuals who use the internet and use this space, as it will help them in having a better understanding of their access to information and various controls that they may create to secure their networks and their use.
there's need to fully be aware about digital security and the threats that are there, and for you to learn to engage and to protect yourself, because of the kind of work that you do as a journalist requires you, or as a blogger requires you, to always be on top of things when it comes to digital security and protecting yourself.
I'd really like to thank BIC for this training because I learned a lot, especially about security. I think a lot of things that we know, we've read about, we take for granted, but it was good that we had a session where we talked about internet security, and then we had practical sessions on how to do it, and I was able to secure my gadgets and to think about how I actually store my gadgets or where I leave my gadgets. So I'm really grateful for that. I think this is a training that every blogger should get, or people who are on social media a lot, because you need to know how to be safe on the internet, to know that the stuff that you put out, that no one can hack you, that you make it harder for people to hack into your website or even into your gadgets. I wish this training had come at an earlier time, but it is a great training and I would recommend guys to do it.